Alright, so we fooled around with the girl enough, and now we're back. It's COMP397, it's week 12, lesson 12, part 2. And now we're going to do a couple of other things. What I've done is, while you guys are away, I've changed a couple things. I've changed my avatar to be the spaceship, so now it's going to show the spaceship instead of the girl. And I've gone into my avatar and changed back her control actions so that it's turn left and turn right. So when I play her, or play the game now, there's no her anymore. It's spaceship, right? It looks like this, right? So now we get our spaceship. It looks like how we did before with the spaceship, right? And now what we want to do is fire the bullet in the direction I'm pointing, right? Now, we're going to do that one first, right? And then I'm going to limit the motion to left and right, like you said. That's just a change to my object. So first of all, I need the bullet class, right? And the bullet class is going to move, as soon as it's fired, it's going to move in the direction that I've got it going in, whatever the direction is, okay? So that's the first thing I need to do. So one, let's stop debugging and go back in here and create a new object that I'm going to call bullet. I'm going to say add. Now, think about what the bullet is. It doesn't change direction, doesn't do any of that stuff. The only thing it does, right, the only thing this thing does is it instantiates the bullet object, and what happens is when it hits, it detects when it hits the collision. When the collision hits, if I check for collisions for my bullet, then, and only then, do I wipe the bullet away. Okay? That's what it does. And it has a forward motion all the time. The motion of the bullet travels at a certain speed. So I'm going to have a speed of the bullet, a bullet speed, whatever it's going to be called. Okay? So let's add that in. Let's add a TypeScript file. You might say I don't need a bullet, or maybe I don't, but that's okay. I can make it another avatar, right? If you think about it, the bullet and the avatar are so close because there's everything that the avatar is almost as the bullet does too. So let's just call this thing bullet, just to start from scratch. All right, so just as a refresh, a recap, when we start up a new class, right? When we start up a new class, I want to do first of all we need a module. So we say module objects, right? Objects. And then inside my object, I want to export my class, which is called bullet with a capital B. Okay, so this is the bullet class. You should be able to know this stuff right now from TypeScript perspective. This is bullet class. Okay, now we need to instantiate the constructor. So the constructor goes in here, right? And if you notice, right now there is nothing that the bullet's inheriting. But if we wanted to inherit the objects dot game object, that's okay. That means I got to send something to the superclass, which is my image string. That's what it's looking for, image string. What's the image that I'm sending over there? And if you notice, image string is cool, but image string has got to be defined here, image string, right, which is of type string. That's what you need to put into the bullet in order for it to go. So I can have different kinds of bullets, whatever my bullet is. Okay. So right now it's exactly like an object. It's exactly like a game object, except it's a bullet. Okay. I don't have an update for it, which I need. So I need to put the update class in there. So what's my update class going to look like? I don't know, right? I don't have a check bounds or anything like that right now. It's going to move, right? The bullet's going to move, and it's going to move in the direction that it's going in. Now let's go back and review what's in my game objects class. I have a direction. Right, here's my direction. So my direction is going to be matched up with the direction of my avatar. Whatever my avatar is going to be the direction of my bullet, my current avatar's direction. So if my avatar's direction is 90, my bullet's direction is 90. That's the first thing, right? So I'm going to say that. So I know I probably have an idea of what my avatar is, right? So I can do something like this. When I instantiate my bullet, it's going to, obviously the avatar is going to exist, so I'm going to say something like this. This dot direction, right, is going to be equal to, right, avatar dot direction. That's the first thing, whatever the direction of the avatar is. I don't know what my avatar is right now, but when I do have an avatar, and it would probably mean that I would need, the only way I can instantiate a bullet is if I have an avatar, so therefore this makes sense, and my avatar is a global object. Well, I don't want to put this here in my constructor. What I want to do in my constructor, right, is I want to call an init function, this dot init, which I don't have yet, right? So I'm going to create a init function down here. So I'm going to say It's going to be a private function, so I'm going to change that up again. And I'm going to initialize my, when I call this function, this private function, it does this, my avatar direction. That's the first thing. I also want to instantiate my speed. Sorry, I'm just going to change this up here. And I'm making this private. This is my private methods, because I don't need to do this again. I only need to do it once, right? So my direction is important. The other thing I need is my speed, right? So I need a speed. I don't need a turn rate because it's never going to turn. I have my width and height, which is okay, but I need to initiate my speed. What is my speed going to be, right? And I need to have a sound for my bullet. I'm going to have a bullet sound. Every time I press the bullet, it's going to go pew, 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 or something weird like that when I press the button. Okay, for now, let's just leave it alone. So that's the first thing. So let's go back to my speed. Now I know that my config, I have a config file. Here's my config file. And I have a bunch of other stuff in here. Like for example, I have my play rate forward, play reverse, my, all this kind of stuff, right? My turn right, my turn left. How about my avatar speed? Where's my player speed? Right? I don't have that in here. And if you notice, if I go to my avatar, in my avatar's init method, I have an x and y coordinate. Oh, I need those too. I need to match up whatever my avatar's x and y coordinate. That's going to be my x and y coordinate for now. It's going to appear on top of the avatar for a second, right? We'll move that around in a second. You'll see how that works. But this is important. My x and y, my speed is 0, right? For a second, but my speed can't be 0. My speed has to be something fast. And if you notice, when I do my my game object, from my game object perspective, if I go forward, so if I move forward, right, then I go to the maximum speed rate. So here's my turn rate, and where's my going forward and going back though, right? This is I have my stuff, but in my avatar determines how fast I move, right? My direction is 90 in the beginning, and down here, when I go forward and back, right, my speed is my config player forward and my config player reverse. That's where it is. So if I go back to config player forward is 5, my config player reverse is 2, right? So let's put in a couple constants for my bullet, so we can change it here if I need to. So bullet constants. I'm going to make it so that the bullet is like 10 for now. So we'll say export var, right, bullet speed, right, which is a number. As an example, that equals to 10. By the way, like I said before, there's nothing wrong with changing these vars into constants because they're never going to change. I'm never going to change my key left and key right. That's always going to be a constant. So let's change these values now. Oops. So that I can fix this forever. Oh, let's just do this. Control F, or Control H, I believe it is. Control H, I'm looking for vars. Right, and I'm going to change that to const. Let's see if I can replace them all. Yeah, 16 occurrences, there we go. So those are all constants now. Right, now it's okay to be constants because all this thing does is keep track of there's just a single value that never changes. Right, I'm never going to change my values, right? And const is supported with TypeScript 1.5, so that's okay. All right, so that's one thing. So I got my bullet speed is 10. Okay, cool. I need my x and y coordinates in my init too. So that's one, my avatar's direction. This dot speed, right, is equal to 10. Oh, sorry, is equal to config dot bullet speed. And this dot x is equal to avatar dot x. And this dot y is equal to avatar dot y. Why? Because it's going to appear where the avatar is at the beginning. As soon as I make when I initially call my init function, it's going to start the bullet somewhere, right? So that's the first thing it's got to do when I press the button, right? That's one. So now when I do that, it's got a speed and direction, right? I want to update my location based on what's happening. So if I go back to my avatar, this is where it's different, right? When I'm on update, I want to do things like calc vector and calc position, right? Those things aren't going to change because calc vector and calc position are going to be, they're global. So I can take these two things and I can put them inside the bullet, right? So I always want to calc vector and calc position because what's happening is my calculation vector knows, tells me where, depending on my direction and my speed, what's the next x and y coordinate that my bullet's going to be in next frame, right? So that's the first thing. So as soon as I instantiate my bullet, you know, kind of thing, I'm going to fire my bullet off into oblivion. I'm going to create my new bullet, right? It's going to create my bullet and put it in another direction. Okay, that's good. This is all good. Now let's test this out. So now I need a couple things for my avatar. I need, if you notice, I have all these errors here. Config.turnLeft is equal to true. Hey, how come it's saying all these things? Because these aren't constants. Oops, these aren't constants. My config, right? Turn left and turn right changes, right? These are control constants, right? Turn left and turn right. When I'm moving, this is true, right? But my turn left and turn right, these two things aren't constants actually. They're variables. They're containers, right? So this has to still stay as a container, right? Turn left and turn right. Actually, that's not. Yeah, it's incorrect. Let's go back. It's turn left and turn right down here. Hold on. This one's these control. They're control variables is what they are, right? So this is these are booleans that are set to false initially, and they're not constants, but they're containers. So that way I can keep track of when I'm turning left or right. That's what these are going to be. Okay, cool. I also need to know when I'm firing. So export var firing, right? Boolean, right, is equal to false. I don't have a need for firing right now, but I will. And if I go to my avatar, here's my key codes for my everything else. Let me go back to config. Do I have a key code for spacebar? I do. It's key code 32, and I'm going to use my spacebar to fire the bullets. Right? So I'm going to go back to avatar, and I'm going to go case, in my new case statement, case config.spacebar, key space. There we go. Then I'm going to fire my bullets. Bullet fire, we're going to call it, right? So that's what's going to happen. So config.firing, right, is equal to true. That's when you're going to see what's going to happen, right? So we're going to break. Otherwise, if I'm not pressing the space bar, my config.firing is equal to false. So I'm just going to go down here. Is equal to false. So when I'm not firing my space bar, when I have my hand off the space bar, config.firing is equal to false. Okay, cool. Well, how do I know when to? Well, here's my control action, right? If I'm reverse, if I'm forward, then I do whatever. How about if I'm firing? So firing bullets, and I'm going to create them forever, right? For now. So I'm going to say if I'm firing bullets, then so if config.firing, right, is equal to true. It's true, right? Then and only then will I launch a bullet. I'm going to make a new bullet, right? So I'm going to go like this. I'm going to call the bullet fire method, but for now, let's just call the first bullet the first time. So I'm going to say fire bullet, right? So how do I do that? How do I instantiate a new bullet? So I can go here and go var, then bullet is equal to new, right? This is where I'm having a problem. Objects dot bullet, right? That's the first thing. Now you're going to see that there's the problem here. I got to tell what the thing is. It's going to be bullet. That's what's going to go in there, right? Because that's what it's going to fire from my assets. If I go to my asset manager, right? Here's my manager's assets. And my asset manager is bullet, right? Which is this. Then that's gonna show that bullet on the screen, right? Okay, cool. So that's what this is going to do. But I also have to, when I instantiate a bullet, I also have to add it to the game, right? So I'm going to say game.addChild bullet. So I add the bullet to the stage. When I'm doing, it's going to fire in the direction that my ship is pointing. No problem. This is a problem because it's going to keep firing bullets forever, right? And it's going to add to my stage forever. That's a bad thing. I don't want that to happen, right? But for in the beginning, it'll work. All right, so that's the first thing I need to do. This is where I'm going to put in my new. I'm going to make a new method eventually that's called bullet fire. That's going to be part of my object, my game object class, right? And bullet fire is going to do some of the things I need to do. Okay, so that's the first thing. So my bullet's going to fire off. But I have a problem. And my problem is I've added a new class called bullet, but I haven't attached it to my index.html. I'm going to have a problem. It'll give me a weird error, an undefined error. So here I am, game object, ocean, cloud, blah, blah. And maybe it's going to be, now avatar needs to know about the bullet when it's firing it. So, but the bullet needs to know about avatar, right? So I need to, it's kind of a chicken or the egg thing, right? Which one do I put first? Let's put it underneath plane and before avatar. Should be okay. So I'm going to take my bullet, throw it in there. So now it's part of it. And then the same thing goes with my game.ts, right? So before the plane, between the plane and the avatar, whatever, somewhere up here, right? So let's just go like this and put the bullet in there. There we go, bullet TS. So I've got that in there. Now it should work. Well, let's see if I've covered everything. Then, theoretically, if I've made everything correct, the bullet should work, right? So I press the button, and where's the bullet? Where's the bullet, man? Where's that? How come the bullet's not working, right? It did not. Well, actually it did. I put it in an update, but I didn't call my bullet update method, right? Because I didn't do that. So that's one thing I didn't do. So I've got to update my bullets every frame. I have a bullet update, but how do I update my bullets, right, in my game loop? Well, the only way I'm going to update my bullet in my in my game loop is if it's updated, which means here I got a bit of a problem. Let's pause it here while I fix the problem.